Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick my gun and customization. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below, letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Now, today's episode's been a little bit tricky because we didn't know the Battlefield 1 Alpha was coming out, and it's kind of taken over my weekly scheduling. So this comment here, or rather this loadout, is going to be based on something that I was just enjoying playing in Battlefield 1, and I decided to play a bunch of rounds playing this class exclusively. Now, what am I playing? This is the Assault class using the Model 10A shotgun and gas grenades. Now, there's not a whole lot of customization options in Battlefield 1 just yet when it comes to your loadout, but you can customize what grenade you would like to use and what weapon you want to use. And when running with gas grenades, it gives you a lot of really fun options with the Assault class, especially with the shotgun, because the shotgun doesn't require you to aim down sights to be accurate, and when you put on a gas mask, you can't aim down sights. So it allows this class to be kind of a really interesting breaching and clearing class. You can throw a gas grenade into a building, blinding everyone, sort of disorienting them, put on your gas mask, and get in there and hip fire them all down. Now, at the moment, everybody has a gas mask. I don't know if this is going to be a universal attribute in Battlefield 1 or if it's something that you're actually going to have to select in your character's loadout. It'd be interesting if it was something that you have to select. Otherwise, I feel that once players get pretty good with gas masks and stuff, they'll be able to just quickly adapt to any sort of gas grenade. Right now, it's just such a fun way to throw it into a building and see if anybody's in there. Obviously, you have to watch out for other players using their gas masks, as it won't give you any sort of hit markers or let you know if somebody else is in the building. But most people aren't running around with their gas masks on by default unless they're sort of playing my class, and even so, I prefer not to have my gas mask on at all times. Not only does it prevent you from aiming down sights, but it also really muffles your hearing, and sound has become significantly more important in this game. Hearing soldiers' footsteps is much easier than previous Battlefield games. And when you give up that ability with the gas mask, it really does put you at a disadvantage. Now, the Model 10A shotgun is a blast to play with. There are a few things that you might want to know if you're very familiar with pump action shotguns from previous Battlefield games. I would say it's most similar to like an 870 MCS. But one of the key differences here, and one of the things that's been hardest for me to learn or sort of adapt to, is that reloading is more important now, in the sense that you can't just reload whenever you want. In previous Battlefield games, you could interrupt your shotgun reload and start shooting at enemies whenever you wanted. Now it appears you have to sort of let the current cycle you're in finish before you can actually fire the weapon, making it much trickier to reload this gun mid-combat. In fact, you kind of want to reload it more like a normal gun now. You sort of kill the people you're engaging, find a little spot to hide, reload your weapon, and then get back into the action. This is a bit of a learning curve for anyone who's been playing a lot of Battlefield, especially with shotguns, as you're gonna just want to keep going, reload mid-combat, just keep engaging people and sort of hip firing them to stop your reload animation. And you can't really do that as effectively in Battlefield 1 anymore. So it does slow you down a little bit. I actually think it's a good balancing mechanic because the pump action shotgun is so incredibly powerful in close quarter combat, and there is a lot of close quarter combat in this game. One thing that's carried over from previous Battlefield games, and I don't know if this is due to the shotgun spread pattern or the netcode or whatever, but they do seem to be a bit inconsistent, just as pump action or any shotgun was in previous Battlefield games. Now in Battlefield 4, the spread pattern of your shotgun is for the most part seemingly random. So your spread could actually heavily favor the left side of your crosshair or the right side of your crosshair. You don't really know. So if your aim's off a little bit, but it favors the side that your aim is off to, you can still get a one-shot kill. Or if your aim is pretty much dead on, but your spread heavily favors one side or the other of your aim, it can rob you of a one-shot kill that you are pretty much certain you should have had. This has always been something that's kind of irked me about the way Battlefield's designed. There's a lot of elements of the game that they like to try and design realistically, but I think this is one where I would be happier if they just made the spread pattern consistent all the way around, like a lot of other competitive shooters do. And this way you kind of know exactly what you're going to get each time you fire the weapon, as it is a video game and consistency can be nice, especially when it's something that's supposed to be a bit more competitive. Now right there you saw me use a fun little defensive tactic with this class, and that is throwing a gas grenade on your feet when you're being chased, popping on your gas mask, and it sort of gives your enemy a little bit of hesitation. Sure, they can put on their gas mask too and try and run in there, but they're sort of on high alert. They know something's going on, and if somebody is near you without a gas mask on, you'll start getting those hit markers. So it can work as sort of a warning device or a way to sort of slow down the enemy. It's also a visual obstruction. It's not a perfect visual obstruction, but it does work to a certain extent. So I just like the options with this class. I know everybody, again, does get a gas mask, but if that changes in the future, it'll be a bit more interesting of a class. And at the moment, not everybody is that effective with gas masks yet. They don't all pop them on exactly when they should. Now, of course, this class is still the assault class, so it has some of the best anti-vehicle weapons in the game. It's really hard to say what class balance is going to be like in the final game, but at the moment, it seems like the assault class is definitely one of the most useful for conquest game modes. It's got the best anti-vehicle weapons in the game and some of the best close quarter combat weapons in the game. So it's absolutely essential and excellent for pushing points as infantry, and it's also necessary for taking out vehicles as infantry. So it's kind of weird at the moment. It feels like assault, as usual, seems to be overpowered in one way or the other. We'll have to see what kind of cool and essential gadgets the other classes get later in the game. Now, when you pick something like a shotgun over an SMG, you're sacrificing sort of medium to close-ish range SMG for a pure close range weapon. The shotgun can take 3 or 4 shots to kill somebody at medium range, but it's not really worthwhile using it in that manner. So you have to close your distance. Building fighting is a must with this class, staying in close quarters, using it to flank and get near your enemies, and then using the smoke as either visual obstruction or a way to smoke out enemies from their building hiding spots. In those kind of scenarios, there's few classes that can really go toe-to-toe with this one. In fact, one of the biggest counters to this one is just another assaulter using a shotgun. Sure, if you miss your first shot, you could be screwed, but once you get pretty good with the shotgun and that doesn't happen as much, you feel sort of unstoppable in some situations. Most of the time when I got killed with this class, it was at medium or further ranges. It's always about countering other players at the distances or the kind of engagements that they don't necessarily excel at. Now, I wasn't sure how prevalent shotguns were going to be in Battlefield 1. Obviously, we have the Model 10A, but are we going to have other kinds of shotguns, and how are they going to vary? I looked up a few of the shotguns that were used in World War I and found that Browning actually had one that was a semi-automatic shotgun, which is awesome. So that means that they're probably going to have a semi-automatic shotgun in this game, and we can see how they balance that against pump-action shotguns. So I just love that they actually had a huge amount of technology available during that time period, even though, as we already know and has been pointed out time and time again, most soldiers were using bolt-action rifles with iron sights. That was sort of the standard infantry loadout for most countries during this war, but they did have a lot of experimental technology that was not anywhere near as prevalent as it is in this game, but it at least existed. Now, something that's interesting to consider about this map is that it does involve a lot of good close quarter combat in the center of the map and a lot of good long range combat in the outside of the map. This class probably won't be great if there's big, wide open maps with not a lot of cover and a lot of ways to close the distance. At the moment, I don't really have ways to test out this class on other maps or environments, but we can kind of assume that it's going to become more effective the more close range the map is, and less effective the longer range the map is. And that's part of the fun with Loadout, is always trying to figure out what game mode and what maps certain loadouts are going to be most effective at. We don't really have that experimentation yet in the Battlefield 1 Alpha because we only have one map. The map that's going to focus on the French city of Amiens looks like it could be extremely close quarter and fun, and this loadout could be particularly effective on that since it just looks like building to building fighting. That's also the map that uses the armored train as a behemoth, so I cannot wait to see that armored train moving throughout the middle of the city. Anyway, that does wrap it up for this episode of Loadout. Feel free to leave a World War I or Battlefield 4 themed loadout comment in the video description, and I'll see what I can do for the next episode. As always, guys, I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing out.